What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Writers. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Kamen Rider gavv, episode 37. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going over there, Toby?
Josh, my brilliant question of the day is related to things I've been bugging you about last week over private messages. I slid into the DMs and was bugging you about something.
Ooh.
As a general question, what media do you think, like either one specific media or media in general, like what thing do you think has messed you up the most, where you've had like a wild reaction to it in general?
Messed me up as in like actually got me scared, got me like worried, like affected me, like actually
like any sort of emotional effect, like tears, extra happiness, pure terror the rest of your life. Any of those categories. So
that's a good one. That's a good question.
So I ask this because sometimes I feel weird about certain things that I do.
I'm excited to hear them.
Oh no, I mean, but like, because like recently I finished Infinite Wealth, the latest of the Yakuza games before the latest Yakuza game, and the past two Yakuza games have basically been like end story-ish. Okay, I guess spoilers for the past two Yakuza games, even though they're very old, not counting Pirate Hawaii one. They're both very like end game of like Kiryu's life. Like my exposure to him has been very short term, but like you've effectively seen this dude's like 30-year lifespan across 10 games with side stories and stuff.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time living that dude's life through.
Yeah, so like there was a lot of wrapping up life stuff in the short game, which was basically like the Man with No Name was like a side story of his where he's basically James Bond but Kiryu, the person, quote unquote, died 2 or 3 games ago to help protect everybody, and like he went on the sly and this company helped hide him and all this kind of bullshit. So Kiryu's whole thing is like super ride or die for his friends, and he has his own little orphanage with the kid he found when she was a baby, and basically like she has her own child now. So you've seen like literally like the whole life of a lot of these people. And granted, like this is all video game nonsense, but like because he can't talk to anyone anymore, like all of his friends think he's dead. And the boss guy at the end of his little spy clan business, whatever, was like, you keep trying to reach out, but you know you can't. Like, that's your curse. That's why the game's called like The Man with No Name, because he's not supposed to be Kiryu anymore. And he was like, I can do this one nice thing for you if you really want to see it. So Kiryu's like, what? And basically the spy guy shows that they've been taping Kiryu's grave and how much like all the orphanage kids go to visit him. And then all the orphanage kids come over and say like, they see something like shiny, sparkling in the sky, blah, 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 or sparkling on like one of the tombs. The one kid walks over and he's like, hey, Uncle Kaz. He's like, I'm pretty sure you're watching this. I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure you are. He's like, I want you to know that everyone's growing up and doing awesome for themselves. Like, I'm going to be a fighter. I'm going to do this. So Kiryu starts bawling because like hearty man tears of, these are my kids. I can't see them, but they're all doing fantastic without me. So like I had this wild emotional breakdown and I started bawling too, like ugly, sobbing, whatever. So I thought about it, and like others have pointed out to me, I guess it's both human and odd that like a video game hits me that hard, like random, like at worst. So like that leading into Infinite Wealth, like out of nowhere, they're like, oh yeah, Kiryu's in Hawaii, but by the way, he has cancer. He's probably gonna die. And of course, like I don't need that shit from like my fake digital dad. I dealt with that enough in real life, and like I played the entire game in my head going, if he actually fucking dies from cancer, like what am I gonna do here?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, like again, spoilers for the end of the game. Eventually, he's like, you know what, life's worth living. I'm gonna go get chemo, blah blah blah, and he's fine. But again, like it's such a weird, surreal thing that, I mean, it's mostly like, I guess it's like when people die in TV shows too, or like those kind of vibes. But it's this really weird thing of they're gonna stop drawing the digital man, and Toby's very sad. And like extra sad, like losing a family member sad.
Yeah.
And like it was all just weird to me. And then like this is followed up by like me bugging. I mean, this is all obviously dad tied. Like me bugging the shit out of you about Riverdale spoilers, when Fred dies, of like, hey, like I'm having weird emotional responses to this. And I don't know if
Yeah.
it's just like the media or the topic of the media, but it's weird that like the weird redhead kid got me and then the weird
Yep.
digital man got me,
I, I
basically.
don't I don't think that's weird at all. I think that that's like very normal and very human. Like on the Riverdale front, the so if you don't know, Luke Perry starred in that show. Luke Perry, the actor, died in real life, and they had to have a funeral for the character in the show, and they do a great job. This is the beginning of season 4. You and I talked about this offline, but like they take a whole episode to do the funeral. They don't do a lot of the other like Riverdale nonsense in the episode. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty just all focused on like a celebration of this actor, this character. And a lot of it is like blurring the lines between the character and the person. Like clearly some of the crying is real in that episode. I watched that episode and definitely cried while watching it for sure. And I'm not even like I'm not the most massive Luke Perry fan that's ever existed in the world, but like
He played a sick Archie's dad. I
he
think
did.
that's the like I knew he died. It was a couple years ago now. And like I was like, okay, like no big deal, I guess. Which I mean kind of sounds
Yeah.
cold, but like I mean famous person. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. It is what it is. Life kind of blows sometimes. But I guess seeing like he was so good at his role that
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone else doing it. And he's like the dad like everyone would want to have. So I think it was just like extra crazy of like it was. I think it's like a perfect one of the best castings for any character. I think.
Yeah.
Of just in
Yeah.
general.
For sure. Yeah. And that's the thing you and I talked about with him. Like this is a show where everyone on that show is a nightmare. Literally except that character. And like
Each person's worse than the last, especially if
Yeah.
you're an adult.
but somehow, and obviously when they start out the show, they don't know that he's gonna die in real life, and they could have written that character in a million different ways. But it just so happens that he's the one like pure good character, and like you said, kind of the perfect dad. He's a great TV dad. Like he's like, but he both is like the dad where he like works construction, but he also is like kind and thoughtful and admits when he makes mistakes and like all the things that you want a dad to do and to be. So it hits especially hard because he's like the good one on the show. But yeah, I mean, I think I've been really affected by characters in things dying a lot here and there, as things happen. And I think especially like that we're talking about that's a TV show. But video games I think hit me harder sometimes because of the agency that a video game gives you. Like the fact that I'm there controlling the character, even if the story is sort of preset, like that I'm walking a character through the motions makes me feel more involved and makes things hurt more when they get to that point sometimes in games. One that came to mind when you were bringing it up is kind of a recent-ish one for me, but probably like one of my favorite games from a couple years ago was Citizen Sleeper.
I have no idea what that is, so keep going.
Okay, so it's a weird game. It is this sort of like I don't even know how to describe it. Basically, it's the setting is that you are on kind of like a future sort of like space station, and you are playing what's a sleeper, a human who has been like put into a robot body, and you're kind of like wandering around this space station, interacting with the people on it. But the actual gameplay is really mostly done in like pop-up character portraits and like text boxes. So it's almost like in an RPG.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like the mechanics of the gameplay revolve around like rolling dice. So you're never like directly controlling a character or anything like that. You're kind of just reading text. But the story that they wrote has a ton of branching paths. You get to decide sort of like who you want to work with and who you want to be friends with and who you want to piss off, and like the story can go a ton of different ways. So there's like one particular story in that game with a dad and his kid, and you obviously have to make some very hard decisions about what happens to that family. And that was like that was rough. And finishing that game, and like I sort of made them my priority in the game. And when I finished that game and kind of what happens at the end of it, I remember just sitting there at the end being like, wow, okay. Just like needing to sort of sit in the dark for a while and just sort of absorb everything that had just happened. And again, this is on a game that like isn't realistic looking. It's like kind of like just character portraits, like I said, and in text, and it still affected me that much because again, I'm making the decision. I'm choosing what happens here, and that made it hit all the more. But yeah, for sure, like game characters dying, I've definitely like cried over before. Um, I've had a couple shows I think in my life that have been like more important shows, like ones that have like informed more of my personality, and Community is one of them. And there aren't really like any major deaths in that show that like affected me deeply, but there's one point where the character Troy leaves the show before everyone else, and the like saying goodbye between Troy and Abed episode was like super touching and also made me cry because it's one of those that also felt like it was kind of like crossing the boundary a little bit between like reality and the show, but also it's like, man, I've spent so much time with these characters, and at this point I've rewatched these first seasons, like 5 or 6 times, and yeah, it's sad. You spend a lot of time with characters if they're not, even if they're not real, and I think it's okay to mourn them.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So at least if nothing else, my sample size is now up to 2, and I feel a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So then this one's probably extra. God Game Kingdom Hearts 2, I believe. One of the last time you go to the 100-acre wood and talk to Pooh. Pooh's losing his shit because his memory doesn't work anymore, and the whole like vibe of the area is everyone lost their memories. And Pooh goes into like this weird depressive deep dive of like, well, if I don't have memories, how do I know you ever existed? You're one of my best friends. I'll never know you were even a thing. And that's a little video game cartoon Winnie the Pooh going through like the deepest morality in humanity, and that kind of fucked me up too.
Yeah, just the description of that kind of was rough for me.
Dude, I think I could. I think you're probably right though. I think the weird agency thing helps because there's, again, like obviously like Yakuza is like my main series recently and like one of the biggest ones, but there's times where like in that it's there again, weird little crazy digital people, and on the inside I get to the point where I'm like, I've never wanted to punch someone in the face harder in my entire life, or like when I know this boss fight is coming at the end of this game, like I can't wait to beat the shit out of this guy. And so I guess that's the same vibe of like the agency helps of, sure, it's Kiryu, but it's me, and I'm fired up too, and we're gonna fucking get there.
It goes the other way for me too, where like with scary stuff, we've talked about my history of scary things before. Of like, I used to not like scary movies. Now I'm into them and will watch them. But I still don't like scary video games because it's so much worse when I'm the person who has to like walk down the scary hallway, or like I'm the person who actually has to open the door. I just can't do it. That's awful. So like it's a funny, weird situation where I can watch someone play a scary game and be less affected than like playing it directly myself. Because there's just something about being the person who's forced to like click the button that makes it extra scary.
So that's funny to me because I guess like I'm super into all the scary horror stuff, and for whatever reason, whatever part of my brain handles it, like jump scares, it's extremely rare that I jump at a jump scare, whether it's like a haunted house, real life, video games, whatever. So I know a lot of people are like, I can't play that game with headphones. Then they're in my ears when doing this. And I literally just stare at the screen. And I think about all the people that got famous on YouTube for playing like Five Nights at Freddy's or Outlast or any of the spooky games. And they see the ghosts and they scream and they throw their mouse and and like everything shakes. And maybe I'm just like broken some weird serial killer style of like none of this phases me. But I just feel like I missed out. Everyone else jumps and gets scared, and I like stare at the little ghost and go, "Okay, you're here. That's cool. I know you're coming." And then when this pops out, I'm just gonna go, "Okay, this is a thing," and we're gonna keep going forward here.
Just trying to feel alive.
Just trying to feel alive, and they're not helping. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Joey, I was weirdly affected. I recently finally saw the Thunderbolts movie as well, and like
Oh, the new
Even
Avengers.
the new Avengers movie. That movie even weirdly affected me a little bit in the theater because it deals like pretty well with like depression a little bit. I mean, in terms of like how a Marvel movie would. Like it's not like they're getting super deep, but like they touch on it as a subject, and that had me a little teary eyed in the theater at one point. It didn't full cry, but it was like, oh wow, okay, this is getting to me. So yeah, maybe I'm just a big softy when it comes to media.
Maybe.
Maybe.
My greatest sociopath move was watching Saw in theaters, and Jigsaw made some snide remark to the guy before he killed him, something about health insurance or some bullshit. Like the one movie was like geared on like Jigsaw. It was the sixth movie, but technically it was like point one in actual storyline because that's how the Saw movies ended up. And like the whole thing is like Jigsaw versus Big Pharma because his insurance company didn't want to pay for him to have experimental treatment. So the guy makes some snide comment to him in the beginning about like, oh, financial, something, medical, whatever. And when it turns around at the end and Jigsaw makes some comment to him to mirror back what he said as like a snide prick of like, I'm going to fucking kill you. It's not so funny now. I had like the loudest guffaw laugh in the theater and it was dead quiet and literally nobody else found it as funny as I did. But I thought it was like the funniest fucking thing. And then I felt like real weird for cackling loudly at a Saw movie in the theater.
Well, I guess most people didn't even understand that it was a callback to something from earlier in the film because
Well, then they're fucking
most people are
idiots.
morons. Yeah, exactly. People are dumb, so that could have been part of it.
You know what? If that's what it is, then that's might be what it is. But I'm gonna judge you if you didn't get it because it was funny.
Okay. Judge you shall be. And Toby, people might judge us if we don't talk about Kamen Rider. So let's hop over and do that today, shall we?
I suppose so.
This week on the show, we're going to talk about Kamen Rider Gav episode 37. 37 in a row? Yeah, episodes in a row, Toby.
I feel like we've made that joke every season we got to episode 37.
Because it always is 37 episodes in a row. That's how it works. They're just in a row, Toby.
That's pretty good. That's very wise.
Don't watch any episodes on your way to the car, okay? So this episode is a bit more of a talky episode after our action-packed Longo killing episode last time around.
I feel like it was very talky, and also, what's the word for the slice of life animes? Isekai, something like that.
No, but
isekai.
Isekai is a different thing. That's where you get transported to a different world.
Well, I mean, technically we did. We would go to Gochizo Land. Is it just slice of life?
Slice of life, yeah.
Okay. This felt like a very slice of life episode.
It did.
Where most of it was just kind of moseying around and doing human things more so than like a Kamen Rider. There's stakes, shit on the line kind of episode.
Well, yeah, they had to introduce. Well, I guess the big reveal at the end. We'll say it now, so we don't have to dance around it. We find the person who actually kidnapped Honto's mom. the Granute himself is revealed, and we had to introduce that character, right? So like the fun human stuff that we're doing is in service of like putting that character in their lives.
Okay, so wait, before you even go past that, there was an episode all the way towards the beginning when Shomas first started figuring out he could eat candy and turn into a Kamen Rider. And he went to visit a candy shop. And the guy gave him a weird look. And we never really readdressed that person. And one of us, I'm going to say it was me because it kind of sticks in my head. It could have been you. Either way. We made some comment like, hey, I wonder if that guy is a Granute too. Because he was acting funny when Shoma was doing something. And I feel like we never came back to it. And I feel like that's the same guy in this episode. Like, I feel like we came full circle on that actor being that Granute, just so you know. We could be wrong.
I hope that's true. I was really hoping that the end of that was going to be, and I looked it up, and it is.
Okay, well, then you keep explaining. I'm going to look it up, and I'll tell you.
Okay, because that's interesting. I did think it was weird So yeah, the Granute is revealed to be a candy maker essentially, uh, in this sweets shop. We literally have another person that owns a sweet shop. We go talk to him in this episode too. I don't know why that wasn't the character. Like why we introduce a new character this episode to become the Granute that killed the mom, but we had a character that could also have just been that. That has been in multiple episodes now that we sort of have a backstory for. They might have other plans for that guy, but I found it interesting and weird that we didn't sort of merge those two concepts together. But that's my one little grump with this episode.
That seems fair. Wait. No, maybe it was. Whoever the candy store owner was in 30, 31, and 34 is in this one. So
well, that's the guy I'm talking about. That's the guy where like Shoma has found this candy store he goes back to a bunch.
But it's not the same. It became the same candy store from.
That's what I'm saying.
It can't be. I don't think it is then. Okay.
It's the one that he goes and asks advice for.
Yeah.
Like that guy is in the episode as well, but different people. Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Well, let's jump back to the beginning here. So we last time around, Hanto started to sort of spread the word about Granutes, get the word out to the public, and we get a little update on that process so far. People are starting to catch on about the Granutes, so the word is spreading. Reception is still mixed on Kamen Riders, but the people that like Shoma has helped directly are like cheerleading for him, basically. So the public sentiment is turning, is what it sounds like. But they still have a ways to go.
So you would say the comment writers on that website are 50-50 on if Shoma's good or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Why?
Because what's the name of the show, Josh?
Oh, just the okay. I thought that there was a vote that you were telling me about that we took somewhere.
No, they were like, oh yeah, the commenters online are writing things, and they seem 50-50 on us. And again with my weird media thing, like I just giggled to myself, and I was like, I'm writing this down for a fucking joke today.
they that would have been a perfect insert for Toei to come get us and put us in the show. I mean, like, listen, we heard this podcast about you guys. They seem very on board. I think that was mostly just included here to make it so that like Hanto could still walk, or sorry, that Shoma could still walk through the world. Like they're like, oh, people are catching on, but like the whole world doesn't know yet. He's not a celebrity at every turn. I don't know. The boy shows up, a little young boy needing help with his family's sweet shop, the wagashi shop, which is like traditional Japanese sweets. And yeah, that's kind of the crux of the episode, is that Happy Pare is going to make this shop more popular. And they come up with very like grounded ways to do that. Like, you should have an internet presence. Here, we started you an Instagram.
I thought it was funny where she was like, the way she worded it, I felt like wasn't so much I signed you up for this popular media. To me, I thought she worded it as I created you this social thing to use. And I was all stoked that Sachika made Instagram, basically, because it was literally Instagram. Like it might have said Instagram in Japanese, I don't know, but it was definitely a thing.
Yeah, I think it maybe literally was just an Instagram screenshot in Japanese, because it 100% was the like, you know, the profile picture was in the right spot. It was the 3 pictures across grid, just like Instagram has. Like it just showed Instagram essentially. Yeah, I love the idea that Sachika is like, so I've invented a new social media. You're the first. Congratulations.
It was fantastic.
I could see her just being just a hot shot coder without us knowing. Just, you know, she does it for fun.
I mean, when your whole job is like, I'm good at all the jobs, I feel like that's just natural, where she would just know how to code. So
true. We also get an update on sort of what's going on in the Stomach family, of course, post Alongo dying. Lascelles has brought her dad a giant pile of trash for some reason, human trash, I guess. So that's why it's notable. But he definitely does the dad thing of like, this is great, honey. I love all of this trash. Thank you so much. He is lamenting. So the stomach big bad guy, the dad, is lamenting how Longo's gone. He's a good man. We're gonna miss him in the company, and they're talking about that production will probably slow down because getting humans will be harder now. And Lascelles puts her foot down basically and says like, it won't slow down. You still got me, and you still got Jeep. We're gonna get it done.
We got a hell of a crew still rolling strong here.
Yeah. So pretty sure Jeep's is gonna kill himself because his wife is pushing him too hard, cracking the whip a little too much.
That was definitely a lot of vibe of the episode in general.
Yeah.
Where like his brain just seems completely shattered by ever since losing his twin, and him thinking like, oh, my family's all powerful, we can do anything. Like, of all of the people, minus the ones that actually got murdered, like his life just keeps going to shit more and more somehow. Like he's like just getting deep into all the losing, all the losses, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, they're running poor Jeep into the ground here because like there's one point where like he dreams about his dead sister throwing him off a balcony. He wakes up in a fit, and then Glotta, his real life sister, walks in and just manhandles him and chokes him out until his wife comes in and breaks it up. Like things aren't going well for Jeep. Like you said, also like having his complete mental image of his family completely shattered when Longo dies. Obviously he was angry at Longo but didn't want him dead and sent him to his death basically. Jeep's got a lot going on right now.
A lot of shit going on in his life, that is for sure.
Also, people who have a lot of shit going on is the family that runs the Wagashi sweet shop. The husband who started the shop is dead, and the mom and son still own it, and they're running it with this artist, a candy artist named Kenji, who learned from the father and focused on basically just traditional sweets. And he's a master artist apparently, and is really doing great work with these candies. And spoiler alert, he ends up being the Granute that kidnapped Hanto's mom.
For whatever reason, I completely forgot that we can call that a giant piece of Hanto's character arc, but I feel like he hasn't done a lot of mom complaining lately, and it kind of went out of my mind.
Same.
So the fact that he found the little kid's drawing of the monster / he ran into like the mom murdering monster at the end was kind of wild to me. I was like, holy shit, this is a huge twist, even though it's really not. It's just the story for the season. It was crazy.
Yeah, I thought for sure that Hanto's whole like character development was pretty much done for the season. It was like, oh, he got mad at Shoma. Now he's friends again with Shoma. We're all just done. And then I too also forgot that there's this whole huge thing that he was angry about that we hadn't resolved. But as soon as he dropped that drawing, I realized like, oh, we're doing this today. Okay, guess we're gonna find out some lore. Here we go. It still is, I know that he did it when he was a kid, and that's just what he would have had. But it's so funny that he has, as an adult, he's carrying around this crayon drawing of a monster and asking very serious investigative questions. That's a great visual. Also, very quickly, we cut over to Rakia next up, and he's got that broken driver. We saw it get cracked last time around. He needs it fixed, and he says he's the only one I can ask. And we don't get any clarification on who he is. Obviously, Uncle Denty is the obvious one we're supposed to think he's talking about. Do you think that's actually who he's talking about?
I guess that sets up for the drop of either a random new hero villain, or just that he needs to go talk to Pidgey and be like, yo, man, I need your help. Because even at the end, there was, or was it towards the end, or one of the points where doing all the family bullshit, the stomach family bullshit, it seemed like when they were talking to Pidgey about the life situation, and they were like, hey, if you need to do some training stuff, here, use this. They said like they use this human snack or like this human being snack, and they basically give him like a box of Pocky. But it seemed like he had some weird trepidations of his shit's not going right, and maybe he likes the humans too when he's flipping or slowly flipping or something, or he knows that Shoma and crew can murder the rest of his family and he can be the boss. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on any of that. That might have been there. I didn't notice. Because my understanding of Nielv is that he still is just a monster. That was who I was thinking that Rakia might have been talking about. Is he's going to get in contact again with Nielv, and maybe that's going to cause some drama one way or another. Could be interesting. I don't really see a world where Rakia reaches out to him though. Like that would seem out of character, I think, to me.
I think,
But
if we're gonna call it reaching out, I think more so would be like, hey, the next time I see that clown, I'm gonna kidnap him and make him help me. More so,
I like
I
that.
guess.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Gonna get that guy and make him use his brain for me.
he seems smart.
I also thought it was cool here. Shoma calls Rakia in this scene and wants him to reach out to the helmet boy YouTuber, the guy who would do YouTube reviews of snacks that we met in a previous episode. And I loved the continuity there of like, hey, can you go talk to that guy that we met before? He can help us with this shop.
I do
Cool
like
bit.
that, at least like, even though it's usually the smaller scale things, I feel like they in general do a fantastic job of just keeping
Yeah.
things like the Candy Dude's been like 4 episodes now. They keep very tight knit circles of, well, they're in the sphere of the world right now, so we're gonna keep going back to them. And it's not like outlandish things like, oh, we have to go find the hidden guns dealer. It's like, no, our little candy shop buddy. Let's go talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. This was a really good episode for kind of yeah, paying off keeping those people in rotation. So like we got the reference to the previous episode there with the YouTuber kid. And then yeah, we actually like got a reason for that sweets owner to come up in the show. Like, oh yeah, hey, we're working with a sweets shop. Let me go ask that guy for advice on what we should do. And that guy's advice basically is that you need a quirk. Your store needs something that sets it apart. Because they find out that there's like 4 other sweets shops really, really close to this one that they're trying to help out. So they need some sort of quirk. And Toby, the quirk that they decide on is to make the food animal shaped.
Because it's spelled animales, wherever the word was that it was basically spelled animals.
Yeah. That was a funny, like, I basically I followed the logic, even though I don't speak Japanese really. So that was kind of fun. It was like, oh, this sounds like this. Sounds like, okay, yeah, then we'll make it shaped like animals. Perfect.
That's something I would do if I like. It's the lowest tier of making a smart pun, where they kind of just like lay it out for you and it's pretty obvious, and you're like, yeah, animals, I got this.
Yep. So then, of course, again, in a slice of life style, just hanging out doing human things, they go and visit the zoo. because apparently no one here can Google what animals look like. You have to go to the zoo so that your 10-year-old can sketch it.
I mean, like, if you want, you're right, but if you want, like, when people are like, oh, I went to the forest and I sat in the woods for 6 days and I've been spiritually awakened and I feel this now, it's definitely more the vibe of like, he had to go visit and see the animals to truly feel how to make what could possibly be like a giraffe shaped lollipop or ice cream or whatever the hell we're gonna do.
Yep. Yep. So they wander around the zoo, and it's a real zoo. They're actually seeing real animals. They're actually at the real zoo. While they're there, Hanto sits down next to Kenji and is kind of asking him some questions. He's supposedly doing a story on this shop, and we find out that Kenji it tells us basically that he did some unspeakable things in his past, and he feels indebted to the dead father because he kind of pulled him out of the bad lifestyle.
I thought it was hilarious. They specifically went to see giraffes. All I could think of was The Last of Us and the like the quiet nod of, yeah, we murdered people, it's okay. And then it kind of paid off the same way this episode, where the dad went to see the giraffes with his kid, and he was the monster all along.
He was. Yeah.
It's all the same. It's all the same vibe. All media is the same. There's only like, what's the number? There's like 7. It's like 7 or 12.
There are 7 stories. One of them is Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah. It's probably all of them. But yeah.
Yeah. No.
Same
There's what it's like man versus man, man versus animal, man versus nature, man versus self.
I think man versus God, I think technically is one, or like
or
like something, some wording of like that.
Well, now we have to Google this, because now I just want to I want to read them all. The 7 basic plots are overcoming the monster. Oh, these are different, I guess, than the ones I was talking about. Overcoming the monster, rags to riches, the quest, voyage and return, comedy, tragedy, rebirth. Is that 7? Yeah,
I
1,
think so.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
You worded it funny, but yeah, that was.
How did I word it funny?
You were still on the highs when you got to 7.
Well,
like you're supposed to get to 6 and then go, and finally, but you're like you're reading through and then.
Well, see, I got confused because Wikipedia, the next heading also sounded like it was one of the plots, but it was slightly larger, so it's the heading for like the next section of the Wikipedia article, but it confused me at first. So I was gearing up for that being my big final, downbeat, but then I realized it wasn't the case.
So it's funny because I think there's a couple different versions of that. I found another one. I thought there was a bigger, like yours is the base level story thing, and then there's some big paper that was written that is called the 37 Basic Dramatic Situations.
Oh yeah.
So that's fine. It's episode 37. But we'll go real quick. It's rescue, lost loved ones recovered, a miracle of God, entreaty, whatever the hell entreaty means. Love's obstacles, rivalry between unequals, rivalry between kinsmen, a mystery, loving an enemy, sacrifice of oneself for an ideal, sacrifice of oneself for kindred or friend, possessed of ambition, fatal indiscretion, pursuit, rebellion, enmity between kinsmen, effort to obtain, daring effort, vengeance, kindred avenged against kindred, mistaken jealousy, involuntary criminal love, struggle against God, abduction, to sacrifice all for a passion, adultery with murder, criminal love, loved ones lost, falling a prey, disaster, an innocent suspected, obligation to sacrifice loved ones, to learn the dishonor of a loved one, mental derangement, to kill a kinsman or friend before recognition, and remorse. So I definitely think like all those cover everything. More like at least more like spelled out than just man versus man, and
Well, because the thing I was reading was like one was just called The Quest. Like that's pretty broad. Like if you're getting to say just The Quest, so many stories apply just to that. Like it's just such a huge category. The thing that I was talking about apparently is the classifications of conflict. Man versus nature, man versus man, man versus self, and man versus man versus society. And then sometimes people add in man versus machine, man versus fate, man versus the supernatural, and finally man versus God.
And I knew the God was one, but yeah. So basically,
this is I've talked about
all stories get wrapped up in a neat little package, and all stories are the same.
Like the Joseph Campbell story circle is just this as well, where you can break down every story and map it onto the Campbell story circle, because every story has a meeting with a goddess where you come to terms with the lessons that you've learned basically, and you decide if you're gonna change or if you're not gonna change. And like that it's interesting, I think, when you start analyzing media from those perspectives. And like I think you and I do that a lot, and I think we're sometimes good at it by like predicting things in the show. Is really just kind of like, okay, so if you're mapping this to how stories work, like what would be the most logical thing to happen next is sort of what we're doing there.
Yes, that's definitely probably what it lines up with, for sure.
Yeah. And I have no idea what we were talking about to get onto that topic, but here we are.
That this episode was The Last of Us with the giraffes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And we talked about Jeep earlier having a terrible day. Jeep confronts Shoma here to finish this episode out, and a fight happens, and it's a good fight. I will say we get to see ice cream cone Shoma, we get to see frappe Hanto. There's some great choreography. Hanto starts busting out suplexes and stuff, which is pretty cool.
I knew at one point specifically, I knew you would notice it.
Yeah.
They do a German suplex going down the stairs. And they kind of cut before the impact. I can't imagine. I know there's stunt people in there. I literally can't imagine getting flipped backwards on your back / your head on stairs going down. Like that seems insane for something that's not a wrestling TV show, and it's like a throwaway 2-second action that most other people wouldn't even notice and be like, "Wow, that's insane."
So you say they cut away before the impact. They don't actually. I just watched it right now. They frame it in such a way that you can't really see underneath the actor, but he clearly is falling on like a sharp point of the stair. So he's not even like landing flat on a stair. He's like landing between two stairs. So obviously there's some padding there or something. But if there wasn't, he'd be landing like right across sort of the center of his back would be a staircase. Yeah, that's insane.
Something nonsense, something bad is definitely happening there, no matter what. That's what we're saying.
It felt like at first that this might be the sort of death of Jeep episode, like as we lost Longo and stuff, like seemed like, oh, are we gonna kill another member of the family here? But no, Lascelles saves Jeep at the very end and says, hey, you can't take away my prince quite yet. And in doing so, Lascelles sort of fires one of her projectiles at Shoma. It gets deflected. It breaks off some concrete, and it lands or is heading to land on the young boy, the young 10-year-old of the sweets shop. And just as it's about to hit him, Kenji, the shop artisan, runs over to him and basically covers him with his body. And I thought they did an amazing job. I don't know if you noticed, but as he gets there, you get like a single frame of him like yanking out his granute mouth thing, but you don't see his full transformation. So you just see up close the granute mouth for, again, like half a second, a half of a second. And then they don't show it for a while. And really it makes you think like, wait, who was that? What's going on? So I thought that was pretty fun. But yeah, then that's when he has to go full granute to save the young boy. And he's revealed to Hanto. Hanto instantly recognizes the granute.
As he should. He's been staring at that picture forever now.
I thought it was this is a really interesting way to introduce this character, that he is a granute who has seen the error of his ways and has basically been like clearly having guilt about what he used to do, and now has revealed himself through an incredibly selfless act, saving a young child, and stands up and tells Hanto basically like, I'm not gonna run, but I'm gonna get the boy back to his house, but like I'm not gonna run, like come get me if you need to or whatever. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the main part of this aside, where obviously Hanto's gonna want to murder that motherfucker. I think doing the heroic act in front of him obviously adds the great twist to it. Like, obviously, Hanto doesn't hate children, as far as we know, so that shouldn't be a thing. And since Shoma is always so pro, like, no, we can get along, granutes can grow up, some of us are nice, we're not all garbage, blah, blah, blah. I think it's the best way to possibly hedge the start of that drama, where, of course, Shoma's going to be like, no, we saved this kid, though. He's good. And then Hanto's also going to be like, but he killed my mom. I'm going to start this whole big...
Yeah, I like the setup here.
It's a solid coming into the end of the show arc.
Hanto's going to learn because now he's already gone through the... people aren't just evil granutes, people can change type of thing with Shoma and with Rakia. So like he's going to get to that conclusion, but I like that he's tested one more time here.
As if he hasn't been through enough. Now he gets to meet his mother's murderer and be like, I'm going to turn the other cheek.
And like kind of have to become friends with him, right? There has to be okay with him, which is insane. It's one of those things that like in this show, if this was the real world, it'd be one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm glad that you feel bad about what you did, but you still have to go to jail. It was still a crime, right? Like, just because you feel bad doesn't mean that you don't suffer the consequences. But in media like this, that's how it always goes. It's like, well, he showed remorse, so it's we're all good here.
Yeah, and I mean, some shows are at least good enough of like, hey, you've accepted what you've done, and I'm gonna go to jail and do my time because I get it now. I should do my time to redeem myself. And then they hard cut to like 10 years later when they come out of prison, like, okay, you did it. We're friends again. I waited for you. We're safe. Blah blah blah. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty interesting, like you said, storyline going into sort of the tail of the show here. I like the setup, and personally, I was pretty okay with a kind of slice of life style episode that ended with kind of a big twist like this. I was kind of okay with it after the big fighty episode we had last time.
Yeah, the ups and downs of the gavv world.
Exactly. Well, Toby, let's jump over. We got a couple emails here that I want to go through. So let's jump over to emails. If you want to send us in an email, you can send those over to cast@commonwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast@commonwritersucks.com, which is also linked down in the description. Both emails this week come in from our friend Shade. Shade, first email, the subject is, my name is Karakita Hanto. You killed my mother. Prepare to die. which is pretty great. Shade says, excuse me. Shade says, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Hanto being mentally tortured, as we were just talking about. This time, I'm finally back from my trip. It sucked. So let's get back to our usual scheduled program. Luckily, there wasn't too much Kamen Rider news while I was away. Sentai, on the other hand, got really busy, though. But there are two interesting small news this week. First off, we got some more news regarding Kamen Rider gavv's summer movie. Don't worry, it's not plot related. They've announced that the Fantastics, the band that made the opening theme, will be appearing in the movie as the main villains. Toby, how do you feel about that?
I think that's fun. I also think we did that with Gotchard, with Lachesis, and we also had the horse band this year. Now
we did have the horse band, yeah.
I mean, it is cool that they're leaning into the people's talents that are on the shows. If part of their evilness is going to be like, hey, we're also a boy band, or we're also this, I think that's extra funny and like on brand for how they've been doing it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, but either way, good for them.
Shade points out that from now until July, keep in mind whenever you listen to the show's opening theme that those guys are going to be beating up Shoma and vice versa. And then Shade goes on to explain that, jokes aside, the movie villains are usually played by popular comedians, so this is a nice change of pace. The last time this happened was during Gio's movie, where he was also fighting his opening theme's singer. So cool that they've done that multiple times. That's pretty neat.
They've done that, and like with Gotchard, back on the band that did the theme was in the episode. The composer of the songs was in the episode. So it seems like one of the newer era things too is at least doing something with the people that made the music for the year, which I think is fun.
Yeah, include the musicians. That is very fun. I like that a lot. Shay says, next we have some pretty cool follow-up from last week's Boon Boomger news. They've announced that some previous 6th Rangers will be appearing in Boon Violet's spinoff, which is called Boon Boomger Formation Lap. Boon Violet's going to get himself into some pretty chaotic adventures, it seems, Shade says. And then Shade gives us some tidbits from the producer's blog. First up, in this episode, the gang visits a Japanese sweet shop, and Shoma's actor was very excited. Although he's eaten a lot of sweets throughout the series, he mostly prefers traditional Japanese sweets and was, quote, more excited than usual for the dango and the dorayaki. Shade says, hello, it's Shade here, interrupting because although I've never had dango, I have had dorayaki a couple times before, and I gotta say it's worth the hype. Definitely one of the most fluffy pieces of pastry I've ever had in my life. Imagine the sweetness of cake with the fluffiness of a really soft yet firm pancake with filling sandwiched in the middle. And yeah, it straight up looks like two pancakes with like jelly in the middle, basically. Like
Yeah,
I thought that in the show.
it looked like a fancy peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Is all I could really think of.
Yep.
Just fluffy bun-ish bread, I guess we'll call it.
But apparently it's a hit for both Shoma's actor and Shane. The Shane says, so yeah, that was my expert opinion on teriyaki as someone who has eaten it before. The blog mentions while filming with animals, especially untrained, half of the process is down to luck whether you can get the shot that you want or not. The crew had a lot of difficulty with timing while filming the scene with the white tiger. They were about to give up when the tiger suddenly came towards the front. They quickly got the actors and the camera rolling, which ended up being the shot you see in the episode. So they had to rush over really fast, and that's the shot with the white tiger where they're running up to the window so they can get a quick little shot of it. The producer's blog also pointed out that Jeep was being pressured by strong girls, which is really sad. But, quote, it seems like he's actually doing a lot of things wrong, so it's hard to argue. It's pretty funny. The blog also praises Jeep's suit actor for this episode, who performed a bunch of amazing acrobatic moves. Quote, the light-footed acrobatic battle of Kazuma Sakai, a suit actor active around the world, who is like, quote, do you know what gravity is? And then they also mention Hanto, or I guess maybe Shade's mentioning Hanto's acrobatics here as well, saying maybe Hanto's secretly a martial arts nerd. In the Hyper Battle video, he was cosplaying Bruce Lee and making Bruce Lee noises while swinging around nunchucks. And here, he's pulling off MMA and wrestling moves. So yeah, could be someone is a fighting aficionado. And Shade says, that's it for this week's producer's blog. Man, it's nice to be back. By the way, I heard you guys are starting Don Brothers as your next Patreon show, which is exactly true. This is going to be your first Toshiki Inoue show, so I'm curious to see what you guys will think of it. Toshiki Inoue is a very famous writer in the tokusatsu circle. He's also the father of Gozyuger's head writer. And by the end of Don Brothers, you will end up either praising the man as the second coming of screenwriting, or consider him the literal embodiment of the television Antichrist.
That seems like very hard swerves to make at some point.
Yep.
There's one Don Brothers will remember choice in there that I guess you can't come back from.
Shade says, I may write a detailed email explaining exactly who he is in the future, but for now, my advice for you guys as someone who was there when Don Brothers was first revealed, you're going to be very confused. You're going to ask yourself, what is this show even about? But don't worry, that's normal. The sooner
don't make me do this again. Do not make me do this again.
The sooner you just stop trying to make sense of it all is when you'll truly understand what the show's about. Also, Toshiki Inoue wrote the entire series while shit-faced at a bar, so like, go figure, I guess. Okay, bye.
This might be right up my alley then.
Toby, I am going to read you some of the series that Toshiki has written.
Okay, so this is no spoilers here. I have nothing to worry about. Has nothing to do with Don Brothers. It's just shows. Yeah. So Don Brothers is of course the one we're talking about now. He also wrote Kamen Rider Geo, which, as you know, is my favorite Kamen Rider. So that's exciting. There you go.
He did the Gokaiger Sentai series, which is very good. It's the one where they're pirates.
Okay.
He did Kamen Rider Decade, which I also like very much.
So basically, you're already a fan of this person.
I'm a fan. I've liked two of the things that he's done that I've seen. So far, I'm in. Now, the one that you're not going to love so much, he also did Kuga.
See, that's fair, but I don't know what Kuga is. Like, I mean, I know what Kuga is, but I don't know what it is to make that be a threat yet. You know what I mean?
Your hatred of Kuga comes from a much more surface level hatred than like the plot.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know anything about the plot. You just know you don't like it.
I know nothing about the show. I know that the guy was dreamy enough that we have the Kuga effect of like, it went from just little kids watching the show to young adults and old adults who are all like, damn, this dude's good looking. I should watch this crazy show about morphing people.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, some highs and lows, and like I said, the things that I've watched, massive fan of those two shows, specific, or I guess those three shows that I mentioned that I've seen. Those are all really, really good. So I'm crossing my fingers that this will be good and not bad.
That seems like a fair thing to cross your fingers on.
And yeah, as Shade mentioned, this is a show, Don Brothers, that we're going to be watching as part of our Patreon, which means that you can sign up and watch along with us. So patreon.com/the comment writers is where you will find that. And $3 a month is it will get you access to all of our bonus content. Of all the stuff we've watched so far, we watched through all of X8, all of O's, all of Boon Boomjer. We're watching Goes Yuger right now. We've watched Black Sun. Tons of stuff that you can watch if you sign up. But also, if you don't want to sign up right now, you get to watch the first 3 episodes of all of the series that we've watched for free. So just go over there and you can join up as a free member instead to get access to those things in the pinned post to see if you like it. See if you want to sign up for the full bonus content tier. And the first 3 episodes of Don Brothers will also be free if you want to check it out based on those.
That's a lot of choices for a lot of people.
That is.
I know I personally would not pay for myself. So I'm glad that others don't have to pay for me either if they don't want to, unless they really want to. So it's a very nice choice that we've given the people.
That is good. And we do have one more email also coming in from Shade, as I said. Shade has written in a second late O's rant has hit the podcast.
All right, so I'm going to put an official moratorium on this. This will be the last time that we will directly debate the hot O's debate. So I will, because I know Shade was busy, so I'll let Shade have his moment as well. And then we're officially doing a moratorium where I'll not mention it again, and no one else is allowed to mention it again, unless somehow Don Brothers turns into a shit show, and then everyone will hear about it again in comparisons to O's. So today's the last day. I hope everyone enjoys this.
I'm going to rock this boat. You keep sending those emails. If you want to say mean things about O's, you send them in. I'll read every last word. If it's interesting. if it gets boring, then I'll stop reading them. But
see, that means you have to read it then, like no matter what.
Yeah.
You'll read it if it gets interesting, but you have to read it to know if it is interesting. So you're putting yourself in a horrible circle.
Maybe that's engagement. Listen, if you want to reply to my metaphorical tweets and tell me that I suck, hey, you still clicked on me, bro. You're still here. If I have to read about how you motherfuckers love O's every single week, hey, at least you're listening and you sent an email, right?
I guess that's fair.
That's one more download.
you can tell Josh you love it. I'm not going to engage after this. Today is the last engagement. This is the last time I smashed the like button on this conversation.
What if this becomes just a show where like we have our normal podcast and then I have a separate sub podcast where I just yell at people about O's and you're not there. Just people just writing in to fight me.
I would pay my no Patreon fees for myself to listen to you do that, I think.
Just every week, just further descent into madness. But anywho, Shade definitely gets to talk a shit about O's, which is what we're going to do right now. So Shade says, well, I'm aware that the O's era has been gone for a week or 2 by now, but ever since I heard your guys' thoughts on O's last time, the giant nerd in me couldn't help to butt in to say, actually.
This better be good. Be good.
Let me take a drink as we get started here. Shade says, so yeah, I'm going to go through some of your guys' criticism and explain everything further. Keep in mind, I'm not telling anyone that their thoughts and opinions aren't valid or anything. It's just that you guys mentioned a lot of stuff, a lot of, quote, some stuff was like this and I didn't like it. So I'm just explaining why those things were like that.
I'm going to once again repreface that all the times I yelled that it's a stupid show doesn't make it a stupid show. It's just my opinion on the stupid show. And everyone else is still obviously allowed to like it. I just want to clarify that as well. I won't take the aggressive stance today. I'll take the nice calm stance and say we all allowed to like our own things. It's no big deal for real. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Um, First off, you guys didn't see much characterization in O's other than Edgy's a mope and Onk's an asshole.
Yep, that is
Uh,
true. Next, what's bullet point two?
Shade says, so, actually, the early episodes of O's were supposed to give you an impression that Edgy's your typical selfless hero that fights evil because it's right. However, they also implanted small moments of foreshadowing that Edgy does not care about his own well-being, like when he tried to defuse a bomb by himself, or when he would recklessly use a combo that could possibly kill him. It sets the foundation for the later reveal that Edgy suffers from PTSD and survivor's guilt after his time in the war.
So the PTSD, I'll get behind that they showed that later, but all the other things that were just mentioned are Kamen Rider things. Like, I get this part of the conversation, but saying like, I guess I'm talking to the air, not directly towards Shade, I guess. But like, oh, he ran towards and tried to defuse a bomb. Well, that's what I would expect any Kamen Rider to do, because that's the show and they're the hero. So I don't know that's really character development for me.
Fair. Okay. Edgy's position in the series is so interesting because in a series about greed and desire, he's a hero that has none of them and is instead 100% selfless. He's a blank slate because he is devoid of selfishness, which is something that is highlighted every Monster of the Week episode by the fact that the man with no desire fights the literal embodiment of human greed. All this becomes more and more apparent the further the series goes on, until the purple medals show up when he finally has to confront his own twisted sense of selflessness and find a reason to fight for not just others, but for himself too. Which coincides with Ank's arc as well. On the surface level, it's very easy to just see, oh, Ank's a dick, and he still is, but there's so much more than that. You have to remember that Ankh is the literal embodiment of greed itself, selfishness incarnate, a creature born with a purpose to be whole again. While the greed are physically 800 years old, you'll notice that they barely mentally develop as an adult human. Once you can see that, you'll understand that Ankh is really just a kid, a child lashing out at everyone around him because he's not getting what he wants. This becomes even more apparent when Lost Ankh appears to be a mirror to what Ankh could have been if he didn't betray the other greeds. His arc in the series ended in such a beautiful way because even after becoming whole again by absorbing all his metals, something the greeds consider to be their grand purpose, he still doesn't feel satisfied. It's only then does he realize that as much as he hates to admit it, he loves Edgy, Hina, and the others. He loves people who accept and care for him, even though all he knew was how to take. Then in the end, for the first time in his life, he chooses to make a selfless sacrifice to protect the people he loves. The show started with two people who were on opposite ends of the spectrum, and at the end become just a bit more similar to each other. It's the message that the show wanted to say. Uncontrolled greed and selflessness are both ends of an incredibly self-destructive spectrum, and that to be truly whole, you have to be somewhere in the middle. There's a quote from Edgy that resonates with me from episode 6. Wanting something isn't a bad thing. It's how you control your desire that's important. And from that moment on, I just understood what this series is all about. So I think that's a very, very good sum up of the series. And I agree with what you're saying on all of this. Like, I think that is what they were showing. That is an interesting sort of, especially the, opposite ends of the same spectrum and sort of having to meet in the middle. I think that is interesting. I still just think it's one of those situations where, like, that stuff's there. They just didn't show it well enough for me. Like, for whatever reason, when you read me this email, that's more interesting than every episode of O's that I watched.
I would 100% concur with that. And I still feel that all this character development that we're speaking of started in episode 40. I will not get that. If I'm dying on one hill for O's, I'm going to still say it was not a show until almost the end of the show. And then I felt like there was any sort of growth or character building or whatsoever. Or I guess, like, I think even in the Discord, my main takeaway was, like, everyone else, every other character in that show, I feel like was a good character. I feel like the two main people were nothing. And that's the part that I think irritates me the most about it. Like, Brodo's little rise from helper to nobody to birth. Date was awesome. The president, I told Josh I loved way before Josh came on board with them. Like everyone else, I just think was a way better character and like an actual character, other than the two people I was supposed to care about that I didn't care about at all.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, for sure. It, like the graph of the character development is just a flat line really for them mostly until, like you said, episode 40, and then that's where the ramp takes off. And yeah, if we're just judging episode 40 to the end, like that's a crazy better show than the first 40 episodes for mostly that reason. But again, I totally agree with Shane here that like on paper, what the show was trying to do with these two characters from like those arcs that they're describing is very interesting. I do like what they were doing, and I liked what they did sort of 40 on here. Shane goes on to say another criticism you guys had was that regarding the lore stuff, quote, the show doesn't tell you things for a really long time, or if they do, they're bad at it. Shane says, which isn't entirely wrong.
I like when it's quotes.
Yeah.
somehow it's more entertaining to me when I appreciate how much is listened to of words that come out of my mouth. But some part of it to me, when it's like, your quote was, this nothing happens and there is no this is all stupid. It just seems funny, like have that be a box quote of like Toby's like this show is stupid dash Toby, comma the comment writers.
This is dumb and I hate it. 5 stars. Yeah. Shane says it's not entirely wrong. A lot of how the greeds function was left as a mystery for the audience to figure out themselves. But like this guy was right here, always there to do a sick monologue explaining literally everything. So I don't know what else to talk about. And it's a photo of the president, the crazy happy birthday guy. And yeah, I mean that's fair.
Will be the main thing I remember about him.
Yep.
Much like when Gottschalk went to the mountains and got slimed and gooed, and I was supposed to remember something else from that show that I forgot at this point, even though said I'll remember. That'll be my takeaway. The present guy said happy birthday and made cakes and then stuff and then helped.
That is going to be the main thing that I remember. Yeah. You know, and it could be that I'm too old too. I don't want a show where I have to like figure out how the bad guys function on my own. I don't want to have to put that much thought into it. Just tell me. Just tell me. Just tell me in the show.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
I'll be an idiot. It's okay.
Yeah, I just want to watch a dumb show. Shane says, so yeah, that's how I interpreted Commodore O's. Hope this helps you guys see O's in a bit of a brighter light. I'm going to go make a draft for my upcoming email about Toshiki Inoue. Okay, bye. So first off, Shane, thank you very much for the O's email. Happy to highlight your O's opinion here. And like, I definitely agree with you in your opinion. And you know, still ended up like, you know, the arrow pointed to less like than like for me in O's, but that's okay. It's fun to have those types of debates.
We all do our own things out here. It's a crazy world.
It is a big crazy world out here. Some of us are crying to Yakuza games. Some of us are hating O's. You know,
yeah, we all have our our faults, our highs or lows. I cry at Kiryu. You like O's. It's fine.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap the show up for us for this week. Toby, why don't you tell the people where they can find you on the internet?
On Twitter, it's at Life of Tobes. On YouTube, it's Tobes Plays. And on Retro Achievements, it's Tobes Plays as well.
For me, you can find me on Blue Sky at meek.lol. And you can follow the show on Blue Sky at commonwritersucks.com. And yeah, we hope that you come back. We hope that you are ready to discuss episode 38 next week when that comes around. But most importantly, we hope that in this week between now and then that you have a wonderful time. Peace, everybody.
No, before we leave, I want to point out that at the beginning of this episode, they showed the fancy Gochizo jar just sitting in the kitchen like a cookie jar. And they once again did the thing I complained that they would never do again. And Shoma made his little Gochizo, and one just ran into the jar and killed himself. So again, they're still showing him refilling the 100 Gochizos every time, and that's fucking amazing to me.
We salute you, dead Gochizo.
Yeah, the one that showed us on TV today what it really means to be a Gochizo. I appreciate the shit out of you.